Hello everyone, Angelo here, Hollywood filmmaker. I made a video earlier that was very rambling about the dilemma I face for commuting to work. I want to make it simpler, what this dilemma is for me. I live 3 miles from my job, or just under 3 miles from it. I used to drive to work. Admittedly, it's kind of overkill to need a car to drive 3 miles. It was a 2000 Toyota Camry, ran beautifully, like 180 some thousand miles on it. It was destroyed in a hit and run overnight when it was parked like 5 blocks from my apartment, because there's no parking for about 5 blocks from my apartment. I should add, before that, 2 years earlier in 2019, October 2019, I had a 2005 Honda Civic. That car was falling apart, but I liked it. Actually, I preferred the interior to the Camry. I was sleeping in it. At the time, I was living in my car. I was living in my car for some time. I was in a little side road, not far from Burbank Airport in Sun Valley, little industrial road. Somebody crashed into my car while I was sleeping in it and destroyed it. So 2 cars destroyed in hit and runs overnight, parked on the street. Low speed limit streets too, like I forget what the one was, that industrial street, but it was like there's barely any traffic there. There's stop signs at every intersection. It was maybe 25 miles an hour. Could be wrong. The other one, similar thing. It was an apartment, but it was anyways. It was right around the corner, and that was a mistake. So, I looked for another car to buy. I was looking for a car from a private seller with a lot of miles, a used Toyota or maybe a used Honda that was well maintained. I could find virtually no cars like that. I found used Toyotas, like 20 years old, like Camrys, reliable cars, but they were from dealers that were just selling on Craigslist, and nobody would basically respond when I said, "Can I have a mechanic look at the car?" One person did. He said, "Yeah, after you pay for it." So it's very difficult to find a reasonably priced, well-maintained car. If you go to a dealer, you generally don't find cars that old. You have to pay a lot more, which is such overkill for me, especially when I basically know the car is going to be destroyed within 2 years being parked on the street in LA. And then on top of that, you have high gas prices, maintenance that's hard to get done when you work a full-time job, and you're paying insurance as well for what amounts to not a big commute, like 3 miles. So I started taking a bus. The bus is great as far as when it was there. The bus has been free because the pandemic, the city of LA made the bus and not the metro free, although I guess people do ride it free a lot, but it's very lax enforcement. But the bus has been free. Going to work, not so bad. Also, by the way, a lot of people sit on the outer seats and they block the window seats. They shouldn't do that. The bus driver shouldn't move the bus until they move. But, I'll find a seat, or I'll just ask someone, "Would you move?" And they always have so far. Coming home from work, the buses often are not there for like 30 minutes, meaning I may as well walk home, because even if it comes even if it's scheduled to come on Google Maps, it'll say like 20 minutes from now. I don't know if it's going to come then, and I waited to where it won't be there then, and I have no idea when it's actually going to come. I live about 3 miles from home. I can walk home in about an hour. So I'm constantly being pushed from like one mode of transportation to another. I would like a car, didn't work out. I would like to ride the bus. The buses don't run often enough. And I heard there's going to be a bus driver strike from somebody who used to be a bus driver this summer. They absolutely should strike. You all should get better pay. Anyways, shouldn't have such mandatory overtime. They should have more bus drivers. They should have buses running every 5 minutes so they're not so crowded, especially during the pandemic, when less crowding means less chance of infection. Now I'm looking at the fares coming back from the bus. The bus not necessarily coming after work when I need to get home. I'm getting up at 3:45 in the morning going to work. I'm considering either moving closer to my job, which is going to be very expensive and hard to find, I don't know if I can necessarily afford it, or getting a bike or a skateboard. And biking seems like the best option. I do not know how to skateboard. I've tried like 3 times in my life when I was a kid, and I know I would have to spend like a few weeks learning it. And even then, probably not super convenient. I don't know if people would hassle me for riding skateboards through residential neighborhoods around here. I just see how nice the neighborhoods are, and I don't trust them. Riding a bike, very concerned about traffic. I've figured out bike routes where I can avoid all the main roads except for like an intersection with a light. And even so, I would be very careful. Like, I want rear view mirrors and everything, flashing lights on me, and a camera running on my helmet. And if I see cars and I'm worried they're gonna ignore me or whatever, I would hope I'll have the good sense to always just pull over, let them pass me. So no matter which way I look at it, this is time consuming, expensive, or in the case of biking, not so expensive long term. Yeah, you do have to have maintenance on the bike, but dangerous. I do not want to be riding on busy streets. Drivers are so bad. Majority of drivers good, but waiting for the bus and then walking in traffic, I've started to see, first of all, not just lots of pieces of cars on the side of the road from where people crash and the terribly designed intersections, but how many people are on their phones while they're driving, looking down at their phone. It seems unreal, but like, I can't believe how many people do that. It's such a bad idea. People will be like slowly braking while looking at their phones at intersections and like stopping, and then sometimes I'll see them just like the light turns green and they don't even notice. That's the kind of person I'm worried about hitting me on a bike. It doesn't matter how safe I am. And then there's the issue of where to store my bike. There's no elevator in my apartment. I'd either have to bring it up 3 flights of stairs or see if I can stow it in the garage here. So it might not necessarily be an issue if I can just lock it up in the garage. However, we've had 2 break-ins in our building where people have come in, and one of them ripped out mailboxes from the wall. The other one, I'm not sure what they did, but the building posted a security image of surveillance, a video, an image from it of them. I'm guessing they were stealing mail too, because there's nothing really else around to take. And it's not hard to break into the building. You just, like, they don't fix the doors right, so the doors are just left propped open when you close them. So basically, I went from 2 cars destroyed, hard to buy a decent quality used car, taking the bus, but the buses often don't run on time, and now looking at riding a bike or riding a skateboard and wondering just how safe am I. Skateboarding with my skateboarding skills, which are basically none, and bike riding, I can ride a bike, but knowing what drivers are like, I don't care how safe I am. I never want to take for granted that someone sees me. Somebody told me he always looks at the whites of their eyes, the driver's eyes, before he passes, to make sure they see him. And that's what I've learned as a pedestrian I have to do. Because I know at least one person now who's been hit by a car while walking. And they're taking months to recover. So what's the option here? Like, what? It's just become totally wealthy. And here's the thing, even if I was filthy rich, I would never buy a really nice car. It's not worth it. That's money I could use on other stuff. It's money I could use on my own films, or do other things with it. Just give it away. I could get my mom a house here or something. I would never buy a super nice car. All that insurance for what? Get around the same way I do in my old $2,300 Toyota Camry. So it's like the pressure needs to be put on the city of LA to do something to make the city more navigable. Have better infrastructure, better roads, safer bike paths, more, more buses, better paid drivers for the buses, more like public transportation options like light rail or streetcars. Are those the same thing? I don't know. maybe dedicated bus lanes. I know it's hopelessly complicated and expensive. Everybody loves their cars. I loved my car too. I would still love to drive in many ways. It's been really inconvenient in some ways not to drive, having to spend money on lifts and commute or travel an hour and a half on the metro and a bus and another bus just to go somewhere in the valley. But something must be done to make the situation right. What did I do wrong? Like, I bought a cheap car, like I had it inspected. I mean, well, I had my first car. It was destroyed while I was just parked on the side of the road. I finally got a job, got a place to live, after living in my car for 2.5 years. And there's no parking around where I live. I had to park 5 blocks away, and I happened to be in a spot where somebody, probably drunk, who knows, crashed into my car overnight. I take the bus doesn't show up sometimes. I walked home 3 miles today. And now I'm looking at biking, and I know people have been killed. Lots of people have been killed biking in LA, or gotten permanent brain damage, or been, horribly maimed for life. So I'm looking at dropping a decent amount of money on a bike and safety gear and lights and all that. And by the way, what's up with people who ride bikes where your feet don't touch the ground? That seems insane to me. I like being able to plant my feet on the ground when I'm riding a bike. Does that not seem like a good idea, to be able to bail if you have to? Stand, basically just stop on the ground. I'm not trying to ride super fast either, at least not to start. I'm very cautious. But anyways, let me know what should be done about this. Should we not have bike lanes? And I sort of understand the inertia people have against it. They're like, oh, screw bikers, they're too slow, they block the road. Generally, cyclists I've seen are pretty considerate around here, and also they make for less traffic. The buses make for less traffic, and it's like, and these are more environmentally sound and better for your health. If you're walking to the bus station, if you're riding a bike, not everybody can do this stuff, granted, and it's a lifeline for people who can't afford a car, or who need to go around the city cheaply to go find work if they're doing like sort of contract work, But it's like, I did supposedly the right things, or by any way you look at it, trying to take public transportation, and it just, again, I would have been waiting at least 30 minutes today, when not much longer I could have just walked home. And parked it legally in a safe place, supposedly, in a residential area, and it was destroyed. And now I'm looking at riding a bike and making sure so it's like, okay, it's like the city is showing me all these options are not legitimate. You can't you can't have a car. No, you can't ride the bus. So what's the option? Let me know. But I think I'm going to get a bike, and all the safety gear and stuff. And I'll probably get a skateboard too. Not a very expensive one. And just learn it and see what it's like, and see if certain days I prefer taking one over the other, skateboard or a bike. So hopefully that's more clear than my last video where I was rambling, even though I went on long in this.